Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. I'm back. Oh my gosh. This has been the craziest. I'm not even going to say like month, summer. This has been the craziest year. So, I firstly want to apologize because I never intended to take a little break from this podcast. And I honestly can't believe how much time has flown. But I'm back here because I want to be sharing so much value with you. This is one of my favorite places to create. So, honestly, I've really missed recording these episodes. So, I'm really, really excited to be coming back. It was never my intention to have some time off, but the whole summer has been pretty crazy, but the last few weeks, especially, have brought so much unforeseen change, all incredible, but it's just meant that there has been, I'm not really one for having a lot of routine, but there has been no routine at all. It has been absolutely crazy this summer. So I firstly just wanted to give you like a little bit of background as to what's been happening over this time since getting back to the UK, because I left Bali. um First I went on the LA retreat, which was in April. And then I'd not got a huge amount of time before I need to come back to get ready for my main character energy event, which was coming up in the June. So after the LA trip, which was insane, absolutely, that was the biggest thing at that point, biggest trip, completely solo as well, from the other side of the world. I think that was the longest flight I'd ever caught. Yeah, Bali to Taipei to across the Pacific to California, something like 25 hours or something crazy. But anyway, so I did that trip back to Bali, just for, I think it was like 2 weeks before then coming back to the UK. And then it was straight into prep time for main character energy, the rundown for that. And also during that time, so I'd partnered with two ladies that I met at the LA retreat, Rachel and Avita. And so not only was I prepping for my own event that was coming up in a few weeks, but we decided to collaborate and host our own event, which was going to be happening in the July, no less than 4 weeks after my own event. So I went from what was going to be I planned to spend around 8 weeks in the UK. So I think that's a good amount of time. 6 weeks went quite quick. It didn't allow me to see like all of my friends and catch up with all the family that I'd missed. 8 weeks, I feel like, is the sweet spot. So that was the plan. The fact that I'm recording this for you in November, still in the UK, blows my freaking mind. It tells you quite how royally the plan changed. Honestly. And so, yeah, just giving you a bit more color to the picture. So I started planning the event with Rachel and Evita. So I hosted Main Character Energy in June in London, which was absolutely incredible. Like, oh, I need to do a whole new episode on hosting live events. But hosting it for the second time round was such a more elevated experience than the first time round. Because the first time you do something, you're a little bit like, holy shit, and flying by the seat of your pants. The second time around, there's just there's an inner knowing. Yes, of course, there's doing something again and being bold and going bigger and trying different things out and experimenting more, but it's not your first rodeo. So I came at that second event with just a whole new level of fire, understanding, but also inner peace, confidence, like self-assurity. And that was noticed. You could feel how not nervous I was second time around. So I freaking love that event. And then pretty much as soon as that was wrapped up, it was straight on to the second event with Rachel and Avita, which, I mean, I freaking loved main character energy. But partnering with Rachel and Avita to do a collab event was out of this world, out of this world, because I'd partnered with two powerhouses anyway. I knew that going into it. We just got on so well. All had got different skill sets. So we knew that we were going to bring an incredible room of people together. But being at the event and the way that what each of us taught at that event, the way we complimented each other and just had such like high level teachings, nuances. There were so many laughs, there was dancing, there were tears, there was so much emotion, so much value. Honestly, Social Selling Secrets that we ran in July, that was the name of the event, I think topped my main character energy event. And I'm not one to ever say that. But the energy in the room of that day, and I think that is where that really showed me, like, when you find your people, your collaboration sisters, the magic that you bring, like each of you, the way that you can complement each other and raise the whole collective for everybody in there, because everybody learns differently, everybody digests differently, and different people want and need different things. So when you bring this wealth of experience to the table, gosh, the energy in the room of that day was absolutely incredible. And so that was July. I had been planning a trip in the September, which was going to be to Freedom Queen Live, which was happening in Florida. So my initial plan was to go back to Bali for end of July and August and the start of September, and then I'd fly to America from Bali to go to that conference. Now, what actually ended up happening was a few different things. One, we've got a bit of illness in the family, so it didn't feel quite the right time to be upping and leaving to Bali right away, because I had a feeling that as soon as I left, there's a high chance that I might get a phone call to come back. Because it's, yeah, someone in my close family is very ill and has been for a while. But it's looking, without being like too miserable on this podcast, I've been expecting the call for quite a while now. This woman is an absolute trooper. But anyway, so it didn't feel quite right to go back out to August at that time. And me and Rachel and Vita decided to launch our own 3-way program off the back of the event. So not only did I not feel an immediate strong pull to get back to Bali, I actually got a great reason to stay here, because between the three of us, we'd got different time zones to manage, and now a group program that we were hosting. So that's what happened between July and August. So we were hosting that program, the three of us. And it also meant that because I wasn't just jetting away back to Bali, I could have a really nice holiday with my family. I haven't been away with my family for absolutely years. So we had, and my little niece, that was another thing that sort of kept me here, is I had a little niece that was born. It was right around my character of energy. It was in June. And so for me personally, I actually missed the birth of this is going to be a little bit more too much information, but it gives you a little bit of colour as to why I stayed in the UK for so much longer than I did intend to. Is that a few years ago when I was backpacking, I missed the birth of my nephew because we were in the most southern part of South America. I think I was like the south of Chile at the time that he was born. And so I didn't get back until he was just approaching 1. Which was fine for my nephew. You know, he's not going to know any different. And it meant that I got to come back at the stage where they're like, he's a bit more cute. He's got like more, he can sit up and like, a bit more facial expressions. He's got a bit more about him. He's out of the, what I call boring baby stage. Whereas I did want to be around for my niece and actually experience the magic of a newborn. So that's been really, really nice. And so having the opportunity to go away with the family in August was a really just magical time. I've not spent that much time with my brother and his family, my mom and her partner. I see everyone individually, but that was just a really nice week away with the family to just spend like such good quality time. My mom had her 60th and my brother had his birthday while we were there. And I got to spend so much time with my nephew and my niece and just creating memories that, like, those things are memories that I'll hold dear for a while. So that was incredible. So they've got those birthdays in the family. So then when we're coming into September, now it was time for a Freedom Queen. So it didn't make sense again to be going back to Bali because I knew that I would be going to the US. And so it was only a few more weeks. So I decided to make a trip out of it because I thought, oh, if I'm going all the way to America, I might as well go and see some places. And so I decided to actually fly into Miami instead of Tampa, because somebody else had recommended, or if you're going to go to Florida, definitely go check out Miami. It's really cool. I think you'll like it there. The person that said this was older gentleman, wine connoisseur. If you remember my LA trip and me talking about that, it was the guy that invited me for a private wine tasting. So I'm going to trust his opinion as to where's a good place to go. So when he said, I think you'll like Miami. So I was like, right, let me go fly into there. I'll do few days in Miami, and then I'll hire a car and drive up for the conference in Tampa. It's only a few hours, and I love a road trip. And then I'll come back down and fly out from Miami. So I get like a little bit of Miami on either side of this conference. So then picture, I've flown out to Miami a good week before most of the other attendees have arrived. And in the days, I'm having the time of my life in Miami. Let me tell you, the time of my freaking life. Miami's the first place. And if you travel a lot, if you've lived abroad, you'll know this. Every time you land somewhere new, you get the feeling, is this just me? Let me know if this is just me. Every freaking time I land somewhere new, I fall in love with the place within a few days. I love the culture, I love the food, I love the way of life. Doesn't matter if it's fast, slow, big, small, cute little old town or high-rise city, Ferraris or like wagons. It doesn't matter. I fall in love with the place and I'm like, I should move here. I should live here. It happens every freaking time. But Miami's the first place where all of the different parts of my personality and all the places that I've loved. So like I love city life. I also love island life. I like to have nice things. So I do like modern. I like to be able to get around super easy because I just love to be able to come and go as I please and live different in each single day. Get good food, good coffee, good restaurants, and have days where I live super simple and just go to the beach, and then other days where I enjoy the nicer things. I love culture, I love music, I love the vibrancy of being in a multicultural place. And so Miami was the first place that I'd arrived and thought, holy shit, this is like the best of all the things that I loved about Peru and Brazil, but also the island life that I also love of like Bali. It's also got the city life that I miss about London and all of these things, all in just this one big colourful melting pot. I'd got heat, city, coastline, and just everything in one place. It was literally like, oh my God, heaven is a place on earth and it's Miami. Fortunately, Miami is probably about 10 times the price of Bali. I'm not joking. So anyway, I was falling in love with Miami. But I was also watching the weather and seeing that there was a hurricane forecasted to be coming, and it was coming to Tampa, which is where we were supposed to be going for the conference. So the conference actually ended up getting rescheduled. And so that didn't go ahead in September. So this is where my plans changed again, is that I'd already gone on that trip, but the purpose of the trip wasn't happening. I was like, oh, I'm already here. And so that meant, I just enjoyed my time in Miami. I decided to stay there. Had an incredible 2 weeks and then flew back to the UK, where again, had the conference have gone ahead, my plan was just to basically pick up my things and get back to Bali, where, might I add, all my stuff is still, my stuff is still there. And so when the conference got moved, again, I'd got the choice of, do I get back to Bali and then fly to the US from there? Do I wait it out longer here? And so I'd got this ball game, but something else that had happened. So I've been going to a lot of in-person stuff. While I'm in the UK, I'm absolutely making the most of everything that happens here. There's so many good entrepreneur opportunities that are here that are world class that most people sleep on. Now, I love Bali for how it brings a lot of entrepreneurs to one place. So from a networking perspective, Bali is incredible. Just sat in your local co-working space or coffee shop, for example, or going to the pool or anything, you're going to meet some incredible entrepreneurs. And there's plenty of small workshops and talks and networking things and small things that are going on, but there's not industry leading exhibitions. That is a Western thing. I know that there are exhibitions that happen, I think like Singapore and other places like that. But I really wanted to be around not just people who had the type of business model that I wanted to learn from, but also be in a place that was relevant for my ideal client base as well. And so I've always been looking, anytime that I'm back in the UK, as to what events are going on here so that I can be at the forefront of the industry, I can be learning from the best, and just be really keeping my ear to the ground about what's going on. And so something I'd gone to at, I think this was around June. It was also in the June, July time, between my one event and my collab event. It was also happening then. I went to a 1-day marketing accelerator that was brilliant. And from there, after saying I definitely wasn't going to invest in anything, he positioned an irresistible offer, and it was absolutely incredible. And I knew it was something that I would get a lot of value from and that I needed in the business. And so I invested. And then the 3-day accelerator was going to be in either October or November. So again, that presented me with another problem of I wasn't planning to be in the UK that long. Okay, so now what? And so you can see how I've got all these reasons that I could go back to Bali, but unplanned, kept finding things here and just want to make the absolute most of all the in-person stuff that's here, because we know it's going to wind down over the winter anyway, it always does. But if event season is going strong here, I am going to milk that for all it's worth and just really fill my boots before heading back out and spending the winter abroad, and just having that time to digest and implement everything. So this 3-day accelerator, it was either going to be October or November, and in my mind I'd said, right, I'll do that in November so that I can get back to Bali, find a new place to live, because we didn't keep the rental agreement on the place that I had, so I need to find a new place to live. I can settle down, build a new routine, and then I'll just go back out to the US for the rescheduled conference. But then when I'd looked to see the dates of when the rescheduled conference was, that was end of November, and of course it overlapped with one of the dates for the 3-day accelerator. So it meant that there was only one opportunity for me to do that 3-day accelerator, and that was in October. So that meant me staying, because I'd got that 3-day accelerator, and then I would go to the conference at the end of November. So here we are. And I'm going to add one more thing as well, because I went to another event called Expert Empires, which is a collection of world-class speakers. Really, really good event where you get to learn from some of the best in the industry. And honestly, I don't know anything else that happens in the UK that's anything like some of the events that we see in the US. And so Expert Empires is that for me. I went along and listened to one of the talks from a guy there who was so knowledgeable. He dropped so much more value than some of the other speakers. Like, he just blew us away. And he mentioned at the end of his talk that he was also doing a 3-day training, and that he was doing it for £1. I am not even joking you. This is what when they say it's not what you know, it's who you know, and you're not in the right circles. This is it, because I never would have known that this thing was going on had I have not already got in the room at Expert Empires. And so I never would have even crossed circles with him, wouldn't have known he existed. And here he is putting on a valuable, like his 1-hour training at Expert Empires was head and shoulders above most of the other speakers. And so when he said 3-day training, and it's £1, I'm like, I know it's going to be a pitch at the end of it, but if you're willing to drop 3 days of valuable trainings, and I've seen what you're capable of an hour, girl, count me in. And so that was another thing that was straight after the 3-day intensive that I'd just been on, which was around business, whereas this was around building permanent wealth. And so I'm recording this at the time of just having come off that 3-day training. Let me tell you, oh my freaking God, that was hands down the best training I've ever been on, and I paid £1 for it. I learned more in that 3 days than some high-level investments that I've bought in the past. He taught me more about building, not just like making money in the now, but building wealth that would change not just my circumstances, but all of the circumstances of like people and generations around me, after me, like genuinely, not generally, building permanent wealth. It was absolutely insane, and it blows my mind that I wouldn't have even known that that was happening, within an hour from my hometown, and I wouldn't have even known had I not got myself in another room. This is what I like. I cannot reiterate this enough, because I remember starting my business and hearing phrases like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And also, you don't know what you don't know. Those two phrases, oh my freaking God. I knew that they were correct. And I knew that, I only knew a lot about sort of sales and business, but I've only worked for one company. Yes, it was a world leading company, but it's still only one company. You are only one person. You only know what you know. So there's that. But I also knew that I didn't know a lot of people. When I thought about my entrepreneur network, there was none. I didn't know anyone who had started a online business. I knew that so I think I've got a great uncle who started a business, and my uncle started a business, but they're both in-person brick and mortar businesses. And I honestly didn't know a lot about either. So when it came to building an online brand, building an online business, all of this, I really didn't know anyone in my circle. So I was very much aware of those two phrases at the beginning of my business journey. Let me tell you now, 4 years in, those phrases and your understanding of them are, the iceberg, the bit that you can see above the waterline is actually only 25% or less of the actual full iceberg, and that there's up to 75% that sits below the waterline. Have you seen those diagrams? Yeah. That is now my understanding of those things. I cannot underestimate to you enough that likely, and for a lot of people, you don't yet know enough people in your circle, which is why it has to be your highest priority to get yourself in spaces where people know the stuff that you want to know. And then also on the you don't know what you don't know. My gosh, coming off the back of that 3-day training just now, my jaw was on the floor so many times during that training, and I was gawping. He picked up on it and he was just like, why does that seem so unbelievable to you? And I was like, because that shouldn't be possible, or that seems insane. And he was like, it's only insane to you because it's so far out of your realm of knowledge right now. And I was like, yeah. So this is what I mean, like quite the gravity of you don't know what you don't know. Just me being absolutely jaw on the floor, being like, well, that shouldn't be possible. And what, how did the masses not know that? Oh my God. It was absolutely incredible. So yes, when he pitched his offer at the end, I signed up to that as well, because it was an absolute no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. So I'm giving you a little bit of colour to the picture. You can see there's a lot of things that came out of the woodwork that have just unfolded naturally, whether it's from a conversation, whether it is from getting to an event, whether it is going on a trip and meeting someone, and then us hosting an event, and then that turning into a program. Like, things have just rolled and rolled and rolled, and it's been such an incredible year. And it's not over yet, because at the time of recording this, we've got the Freedom Queen Live Reschedule conference coming up in a few weeks. And then I'm going to Bali. So what was meant to be about 8 weeks has quickly become 6 months. And I did not think that would happen. But I'm also really honoured. Honoured? I don't know if that's the right word. But I remember last year being really uncomfortable towards it. After the 6 to 8 week, that last 2-week period, I was just like, I am so done. I booked too long. I'm done. Get me the fuck out of here. No. Whereas this time, because there's been so much onto this, there's just been so much newness, and I live for that. There's been so much change. There's been so much this is happening, and then this is happening, and this is happening, that it's just been an absolutely wild but incredible ride. Never would have pictured it all happening like this. So I'm not going to lie, I'm looking forward to just 6 months of chill in Bali. No events, no surprises, and just a little bit of downtime in the sunshine, and a bit of known. There's been a lot of unknown this summer, which I do love. I'm looking forward to the season of just let it be. And so, yes, bringing you some colour to the picture. And now I'm going to be coming in with some real episodes of gold. I'm recording this after yesterday I asked on my Instagram stories for you to drop me questions around, I think it was questions around creating your own online course or group program and questions that you have around launching, and people just brought the gold. I've got so much material that I want to cover with you guys, because truly the secret to scaling, and it's not a secret, the secret to scaling is when you've built momentum within the business, you're getting clients, you're proving your process, you're getting word of mouth happening, you're getting referrals coming in, and you've started to build that groundwork and people are talking, you're getting those clients coming through, because you need momentum in order to scale. That is the time then to be able to create something that is your one-to-many offer. Build on a one-to-one first so that you've got that speed coming through the business, and then put your foot down with a one-to-many offer so that you can then scale. This is the secret to scaling. Not that it's a secret. Build first, then scale what's already working, rather than trying to figure out what's working when you're trying to scale. That is a recipe for a hot mess. Don't recommend. Build and get consistent in one area, prove that that area is working, get consistent client results, be getting feedback that's coming through, and then scale that. Alrighty, so going to be coming in with far more episodes that are more practical, more value-based, more learnings, more get your notes out, write this shit down. I'm about to change your life, but I wanted to give you some color to the picture about quite what's been happening this summer, quite what a wild ride it's been, and just how excited I am for everything that's coming. If you would have told me even a week ago that I was about to drop somewhere in the region of 30k in investments, I'd have told you no fucking way. No fucking way. And yet, and this is, I'm going to do a whole episode on this, when someone positions an irresistible offer, irresistible being so good you would feel crazy not to, then that's what happens. And so I've invested in 2 things now that are not just going to change my business, but change my life. How freaking exciting. How exciting! So yeah, we're going big at the end of the year. Absolutely. So I'm going to be coming in with some even more juicy episodes, more around sales, launching, content, and helping you to scale and bring massive success into your business for the rest of 2024. But in the meantime, I'm absolutely loving having you here, sending you so much love, my podcast crew, sending you all the love. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you learned something here that you were like, Sarah, I didn't know you've been doing that. P.S. I didn't even tell you about the week in Portugal. That's what I mean. There's been so much happening this summer. It's been crazy. So sending you all the love. And if you're not already, make sure you're in the She Scales Telegram community, because that's where I share like day-to-day learnings or lessons or what's happening. So make sure you're inside that. I'll drop the link underneath. But in the meantime, I shall see you inside the next episode.